Gamescom is over, and Chris Roberts and his team had their big event. And what an event it was. And there's so much to talk about. But today, I'm going to talk about the first one of 4 brand new Constellation variants. Yes, I said 4, because not only did they give us 3 new ones, the Taurus, the Aquila, and the Phoenix, but they updated the base one, which is now called the Andromeda. A full reworking of the Constellation from stem to stern has taken place. Bigger, better, brawnier, able to carry more, and hotter. This is a ship that I think you're all going to love. Well, I hope so. There's still a big split between those that love the Retaliator and those that love the Constellation. I myself have both, and I can't wait to see that wonderful bird built by Aegis Dynamics, the Retaliator. But for now, today, this week, it is the time of the Constellation. And today, I'm going to bring to you a very, very, very quick review of the Andromeda, the base model. And I'm doing it because it's about ready to be upgraded. I'm turning mine in to get the Phoenix. So let's take a run around the Andromeda and see what it's about. So here's a profile view of the Andromeda, the base constellation, and base by no means. It's kind of like saying a base Lexus. This is a gorgeous ship. It's huge. It has 4 crew spaces, but that doesn't mean that's all it could carry. Now there is a discrepancy between the brochure and the ship specs page and the brochure and the specs in the back of the brochure. And one says 480 cargo units, the other says 1100. We'll have to wait and see. But look at it, longer and sleeker. And now the P52 has been moved to the rear. So let's take a tiny bit of a look at the old Constellation and see the difference. You could see it here. It's kind of shorter and squatter, and just ever so slightly different. I'm much, much more in tune with the new Constellation. So here we go. We're talking about the 3 class 3 hard points on the old one. But what we're looking at here is the engine nozzles, which still have that look, but they're kind of forward and almost not as high. I mean, maybe the new one makes them look higher. I'm not sure. And the rear end of this ship, we'll just take a quick look at it without the P52 Merlin in it. Yeah, it's kind of pretty, but just missing something, right? So let's cut it here and go back to the new one. So let's take a look at the new Constellation and talk about its ship specs. 61.1 meters in length, 26.6 meters in beam, 13.4 meters in height. What a gorgeous ship, right? Just beautiful. Look at all the lighting. Now, not everything is done, and I think the texturing is just a little overdone. There's a lot of beaten textures on this, which makes it look like it's old and worn, not brand new off the assembly line and just delivered to my hangar. Kind of disappointed with that, but I know that is not something to be upset about. It's a long vessel. And let me tell you, this time I can say this is a lot like the Firefly. Yes, it is. Why? Because it has that feeling. I gotta get rid of motion blur real quick because I get nauseous when I spin my mouse around too fast. So let's take a look at some other specs. The factory power plant of this baby is a Widetech HF R2+, and that's a size 5. You can go all the way up to a size 6 power plant. You got 4 Hammer Propulsion HE 5.5s. Those are TR5s. All 4 of them at the max power plant size. So we're all ready to start streaking through space on this beautiful brand new ship. It's got 8 TR3s. Those are really, really, really big maneuvering thrusters. So this should have some great maneuverability, and we were able to see that in one of the videos released by RSI. Here's where the P52 Merlin is stashed now. It's housed in a armor container that protects it. We see its 2 TR1 engines and thrusters behind it. And it does carry pretty much of a powerful punch, I guess. I mean, it's not a knockout punch, but it's enough to, well, it's enough to take out some fighters and, well, probably annoy some bigger ships. Other weapons on the ship are going to be 4 bearing M5A lasers, and then one of those will be on the underside of the lower engine nozzles and on the upper side of the upper engine nozzles. You have 4 size 1 retracting arm missile launchers, and that's 2 forward, 2 back, and you have 2 size 2 top loading ones, and they're armed with 7 each on the 4, so that's 7, 14, 21, 28 missiles, right? And 2 racks of 10 on the top loaders, so that's 38, 48 missiles, almost 50 missiles in this unit. You have 2 size 4 turrets, and those are the Claus and Warner CF-337 Rhinos. We're looking at the engine nozzles up here with the fuel scoops that suck hydrogen out of deep space or out of the big gas giants. Here's the fans that help it land. The attention to detail on the ship is just amazing. Let's go walk underneath, and like I said, it's got that beaten up look. Here's one of the turrets. I really don't like how overboard they went up with the beat up textures. You'll see everywhere you look, everything looks scratched and beaten up, like this has been a ship in service for years, ready for mothball almost. Then you got these shiny seats, which make no sense. I had a little bit of trouble finding out where to point in the beginning to get into the seats, but when I do my full review later on, we'll find ourselves sitting in them. Or maybe when I'm doing the review of the Aquila, or the Phoenix, or the Taurus, the other 3 variants. So we've been here before in the Andromeda, especially in my last video of the Constellation a few months ago when I did the farewell to version 1. Alright, we still have that wonderful all-round visibility that we're used to in this ship. Look at that, we're just standing right on the glass. It's just awesome, right? Let's move back a little bit. Haven't been able to get into this. So just behind the cockpit, you have areas for 2 stations over here, one on the other side. You have the kitchen or breakfast nook, whatever you want to call it. This is where people are going to eat. I don't know where they're going to cook, though. Maybe that's one of the stations you could put in. This is a bathroom. This is the way they do it. It's a little tight, a little small, kind of like an airliner, and I think that's what they were using to make this. Pretty cool, right? Come inside, sit down, take a poop, or pee. And let's go take a look at the shower. The shower should be on the other side. At first I thought it was 1 men, 1 women, and I said, no, one has to be a shower. When you walk over there, it indeed is a shower. Look at all the repetitiveness on those textures. Something I'm sure that will be cleaned up in the future. Here's the shower. It's a little tight space. It looks like it's air, right? Maybe it's a sonic shower. Who knows? Really tight, almost like a coffin, right? Now they talk about how everything in the ship has been updated, and I'm going to go back to the beginning of the brochure to talk about it as I take a look at more of the sleep chamber items. So one of the things I like is how they're taking the in real life stuff and putting it into the in fiction stuff. And what I'm talking about when I say stuff, I'm talking about explanations of why things are being built. So the call to adventure. Who says you can't iterate perfection? The astro engineers at RSI have taken the 3-time Whitley's Best Multi-Crew Ship winner, 2943, 2942, 2939, and raised the bar yet again. The Constellation team refused to rest on their achievements. Instead, they continued to run vigorous stress tests and performance tests on their ship, always looking for ways to make the best better. as well as consulting with the public to hear the issues and problems that the public discovered in their day-in, day-out use. The result, over 60 design revisions, including a shield generator from Bearing, redesigned missile racks for a sleeker profile, and a completely redesigned manned turret system, prove that the 2945 Constellation Andromeda is another benchmark in RSI's continuing tradition of reliability, innovation, and versatility. Space is waiting for you. Included in that are these brand new escape pods and sleep chambers, all fitted with their own personal video displays. I love this thing. This is awesome, the way that they talk about the ship, and the in-game, and I should say the in-fiction and in real-life stuff start to cross over when they talk about how they took advice from the owners being us, the people that bought the virtual constellations. So we have a ton of cargo back there. Moving the P52 to the rear has opened up the whole lower deck, and now, according to the brochure, there's either 480 or 1,100 cargo freight units of space available. I'm going to go at 480 because that seems to be a number that's more realistic. And as we look back into the cargo area, we could see the huge hydraulic lifts that will drop and raise that section of the ship in order to load. And this whole area is going to have its own pressurization system. So if you have to space your cargo, you can do it very easily without endangering the crew. In fact, if you get a chance to look at the multi-crew trailer that they released, you'll see one of the crewmen, in the cargo area when the hatch is blown off, almost sucked out, and then has to come back up into the cockpit area. And as he opens the door, the atmosphere is pushing out of the unit, and he just gets in and closes the door in time and then jumps in the turret. It's pretty cool. It is one of those things that just gets you on the edge of your seat. So one of the things that I find intriguing here is how some of the textures still remain. This is one of the places. They look like jump seats, which is important because we might be taking organization mates or people across the galaxy and they'll need someplace to sit. This area still doesn't have any function, and hopefully at some point they increase this to be some kind of other area. This would be perfect if they could put a bulkhead here and possibly turn this into a med bay for really long exploration flights. Who knows? Maybe they have their own reason for this being here. There aren't many animations that are working correctly yet, and I'm sure that's because they're going to implement them in version 0.9 of Arena Commander or version 13 of the hangar patch. I don't know which one they're going to call it. But none of the things that you would expect to have a use function on it are working here. And later on, you'll see as I drop down on the lower deck, there's really no way back up at this point unless I just don't get it. This is new. This is the engine room, which makes a lot of sense. On the multi-crew ships, each station is going to have a purpose, and that's what Aaron Roberts and his crew over at Foundry 42 are working on right now with the Idris and Retaliator, and hopefully the Constellation. These stations back here are going to have a purpose. Of course, this is the one that gets you into the Merlin. But look at all what look like batteries, right? I'm sure you'll have to send somebody back here to make repairs. And then on either side are parts of the factory power plant. I love the way that there are shiny things and not so shiny things. Now, I have an NVIDIA 760. It's a GTX 760 with 4 gigabytes of RAM. And it's not overclocked and it's not pushing. So I'm wondering why I'm getting like some kind of light, like artifacting in the light or misplacement of the lights. I'm thinking that possibly they didn't get that part refined. And this being an alpha, it's not something that they went to fix with this first version of the new variants. Still looking around this area, I love the way that they make this look. But come on, traditional fluorescent light bulbs are still around in 2945. Isn't that what it looks like, right? But still, I'm not sure what exactly goes on back here. Do these things open up or not? Like, what are all these things back here, and what do you have to do to make it work? Well, as we walk up, and we're going to drop down onto the deck over here, this is a new way to get cargo in and out of the Constellation. In fact, I think this is the old way too, only it didn't work because they had to work out what was going to go on with that P52. There you see that behind us. I'll end this quick little review with just exiting the cargo bay and this awesome piece of artwork that was on the main page of the Constellation announcement. Isn't this gorgeous? There's the Constellation shooting off to the distance, the sun, the moon, and that great profile of the ship, that gorgeous look of the Constellation. Yes, I know some of you are Retaliator people, but today's day is the Constellation's day. And sometime around CitizenCon, it will be the Retaliator's day. I feel it in my bones that that one will be coming. The Constellation is one of my babies. It's one of the ships I love. The ships I love most so far are still the Avenger, even though I haven't flown it. The Constellation, which I talk about with love all the time, and the Freelancer. There are other ships I talk about, but these are them. The 300 for a single-person ship is wonderful, but I want to fly with my friends. I want to go and reach for the stars. I want to discover new planetary systems, and I want to leave my mark on the Star Citizen universe. And I'm going to do it in my constellations. I own two. The Andromeda is not one of them, and that's why I wanted to do it today before I upgraded it to the Phoenix, and we'll have that one later this week. You all be safe out there, and I'll talk to you soon.